You, Benny, and good morning, everyone. Thank you again for joining us today. We know that everyone's really busy at the moment, so we really appreciate you taking the time out to join us this morning. And as Benny mentioned, we're super excited that AssetMap, let me just get this flicking working, there we go, that AssetMap won the specialized planning application again in 2021, recently at the Wealth Management Awards. And as Benny mentioned, today we want to talk about global best practice advice that we're seeing, but specifically how it relates to South African financial planners and South African clients. And we thought it's best to start by just taking a look back at the journey financial planning has been on in South Africa. And if we look right back to the beginning, we often half jokingly refer to this as, the back of a cigarette box financial planning. But really at that time, it was really focused around sales. There wasn't a lot of trust in the industry. And I think clients generally felt taken advantage of. But if we look back over the 10 to 20 years after that, we've seen a wave of change in financial planning in South Africa. From a legislative point of view, if you think about the introduction of FAIS, TCF, recently POPIA, but also if you think about from a professionalism point of view, we have far more certified financial planners, and bodies like the FBI are doing great work to really restore trust and professionalize the industry. Then we saw a focus on analysis, compliance, cash flows, reporting, and more recently, the rise of behavioral financial planning, really understanding how a client's behavior impacts their ability to stick to their plan and implement that plan going forward. But I guess the big question is, what's next? Now, the three trends that we're seeing in, globally in the industry is this idea of simplifying advice, being specific about the value we add to clients, and lastly, the need to increase engagement with clients. Now, today we're going to spend just a little bit of time on each of these aspects and work through what that means for South African planners and clients. So if we take a look at the first one, simplifying advice, we've taken a brief look now at the journey through the eyes of the financial planner of what the last 20 years have looked like. And, even though we know there's still some challenges, if we take a step back and really look at how far this industry has come, we can really be proud of the changes that have happened. But what does that look like in the eyes of the client? What does this journey feel like for them? And it's something like this. It's lots of graphs, lots of tables, lots of pages. If we think of a 25-year-old that needs more life cover and needs to start saving for retirement, the average financial plan can be 30 pages long and require 4 to 5 signatures to implement. If we think about it like that, it's not hard to see why sometimes we sit across from clients, their eyes glaze over, and they look at us as if everything we're saying is just gobbledygook. And in saying that, it's also not hard then to imagine that clients are feeling overwhelmed. They're feeling confused, maybe even dependent. And if we think, often when I engage with planners, one of the things they say to me is, my clients trust me, and they say things to me like, I trust you, just tell me what to do. And I think it's incredible that we've created that level of trust so quickly with clients. But what's behind that? Why are they saying that? And perhaps it's because they don't really understand. So they're saying to us, tell me what to do because I don't understand him. So how do we get past that and change that for clients? Because a client that, in the beginning, they may not understand, but they trust us enough and go with our advice. And that advice is probably the best advice for them with the best intentions. So in the beginning, that may be fine. But what happens a year down the line when something changes in that client's circumstances? It'll be so easy for them then to default on that plan that we've put in place because they didn't understand it in the beginning. we need to ensure that clients understand, and most importantly, that they want to engage so that they feel empowered to make the decisions that move them forward, because then they'll stick to that plan. So how do we do that? Well, this is the trend that we're seeing, is this taking the complexity and translating it in a way that we can present it to the client so that they really understand what is going on, what their options are, and how they can move forward. And there's a great quote that said, "I'm sorry this letter is so long. I didn't have the time to make it shorter." And I think that summarizes where we're at. We know that that complexity analysis is important, but we need to present it to the client in a way that they can easily understand and move forward. So make decisions that help them move forward. And there are many different ways to do this, to simplify it and present it in a way that the client can engage with. I'm going to share today how Asset Map does that. But again, there are many ways to do that. But really, what are the three things that clients want to understand? The first one is clients are saying, show me where I am today. I have things all over the place. Show me in a way that I can easily understand what I have. Okay? Show me if I'm on track, not only for the desired things that I want to achieve, but should unexpected events happen, am I on track for those? And if I'm not on track, show me how to get on track. So if we think of those three questions, I'm going to flip over into Asset Map now, and I'm going to talk through how Asset Map aims to achieve this. So firstly, we're looking at the Parker family here. Put my pen on, and we can see at the top, the first thing Asset Map does is show everyone that's important to the clients at the top of the page. So here we have Joe and Jenny Parker. They have 2 children, Kyle and Jessica. So we can see everyone on the top. And then in one page, it shows the client everything they have at the moment. So Joe, here's your income that you're earning. Here's your retirement funds and discretionary investments that you've built up. Jenny, here's your income and your retirement and discretionary investments. At the bottom here, we have what you have together. So this is your home, and you currently have a bond on that. And you've also got some cover in place, life cover from your employer, some independent cover that you've taken out, as well as disability cover, should something happen. So already we're answering that first question. I have things all over the place. Show me in an easy to understand, and in this case, a visual picture of everything that I have at the moment. And you can see by showing it like this to a client, it's immediately easier for the client to engage around it. Easier to see where the gaps are, but easier to understand what I have today. So that's answering question 1. If we then flip to question 2, which is show me if I'm on track. You can have a look at target maps in Asset Map now. And here you'll see there's 3 different ones that I'm showing you here. How on track are Joe and Jenny in the event of retirement? Well, they're 65% funded for retirement. So that's how on track you are. Loss of life, 83%. Should Joe become disabled? 94%. So again, you can see in a one-page visual, the client can see how on track am I to achieving the things I want to achieve, but also for the unexpected events that may occur. Now, that third question was, if I'm not on track, show me how to get on track. So if I flip into here, we can see here there's a gap. There's 65% funded for retirement, which means this is the shortfall here. You can open it up and say, well, let's unpack that, Joe and Jenny. Let's first understand what it is you said that you wanted in, when you retire. And here we can see you said you wanted 50,000 Rand a month. So that's 600,000 Rand a year from now. And you want to ensure that you can receive that to 100, in case you do live to 100. But also importantly, you want to celebrate when you retire. And your dream is to go on a trip, just the 2 of you, and really celebrate that phase, this new phase in your life. And we've earmarked 200,000 Rand in today's terms for that trip. The next step is to say, but what do you have to put towards that goal? Now we know that you've got these 2 retirement funds that you're currently contributing to, but you've also got this unit trust investment. Now perhaps in the conversation with Joe, we say, should we allocate that towards retirement, or is it earmarked perhaps for something else? And in the conversation, Joe says, no, that's also for retirement. Let's allocate it to that. So I simply select it. And now we can see the impact that has. Now you're 72% funded for retirement. What are the other changes that we could make? Well, in our conversations around your risk tolerance, we know that we can actually target inflation plus 3 or 9% return. Let's see if we were to target that with the funds that you've already built up, what impact that would have on your retirement. Okay, now you're 94% funded. What else can we do? Well, we could save more to bridge the rest of the gap. And that saving would be this 3,000 Rand per month in order to get you to 100% funded. And then finally, we can show them, well, what does this mean? It means if these are the things you want to achieve, and this is what you're willing to allocate towards this goal, this is how funded you are and what you need to do differently to get 100% on track. So to summarize those 3 key questions, show me what I have in a way that I can understand and engage with. Show me if I'm on track and what I need to do differently. And this is how Asset Map aims to do that. And it does that with this concept called simple rich, which is we need it to be rich in the back end, in the calculations and that, but we need to be able to show it to a client in a way that's simple. Okay. All right, so that's trend number 1. What is the second trend that we're seeing out there? And this is about being specific about the value that we add. Now, this is a challenge that we hear from planners quite a lot. We know that financial planners are adding a lot of value to clients, but how do I explain it to a client so that they can really understand the value that I'm adding and also, feel that value? And we believe that the answer to this question lies in personalizing it, making it relatable to the client so that the client really feels and understands the value that we're adding. How do we do that? Through stories. Stories of what I do for people like you. So in other words, our planners use sample maps, which is examples of maps of clients that they can share with potential clients to take them through a story of what value they add as well as their client engagement process for people like you. So if I'm working with a business owner, for example, I take them through a sample map of a business owner because it shows them the value I add that's relative or that they can relate to. In other words, I understand the challenges business owners have. I understand the unique needs that business owners have. Let me show you through a story of another business owner and what challenges we work through and what client engagement we work through to get them on track. And how we do that is by being specific about these 4 things. The first thing is possibilities. When a client comes into that engagement, they have certain expectations in their head. We have certain expectations. How do we, in that conversation, open up new possibilities for the client? And this is where stories, we learn through stories, we understand better through stories. And by taking a client through stories, we can open up new possibilities that they may not have thought of. We can also show empathy. If the client can see how we understand this other client that is similar to them, that has similar challenges and needs to them, they can see how we will understand them. It also gives us the ability to demonstrate our value across the family. So I don't just look after this individual who happens to be a business owner. That individual has a family, spouse, children, parents, and I need to look at everyone in the family. But possibly the most important factor is this intimidation. Financial planning by its very nature can be an intimidating conversation. We're asking clients about what they earn. We're asking them about what assets they've accumulated till now, or what protection they have in place for their family. These can be quite intimidating questions. We need to show our value and our process in a way that removes that intimidation factor. And telling stories about other people helps to reduce that. And just on the acronym, we did make this up, Gary specifically, and we're hoping it's quite memorable and makes you feel relaxed whilst thinking about it. Is that what you were going to add, Gary? Okay.
No, so sure. Very relaxed. I feel relaxed just hearing that.
So how do planners tell the story in a way that clients can really understand it? This is an example of one of those sample maps. This is the Jetson family. And let's say I'm meeting with Mr. and Mrs. Jones. They're also, a family, a young family in their 30s. And I feel like this is a sample map that they can relate to. What are the key things I'm going to talk to them about? Firstly, I'm going to go through the people in the Jetson family so that they get an understanding of, who I'm going to be talking about to them. I can say, here we have Neil and Lauren. You can see at the top here, I've also included Neil's mother-in-law because she's dependent on the family. So any decisions we make, we need to be sure to make sure we understand the implications of those decisions for her and make sure that she's also on track. Now the client, because I'm taking them through that, is immediately thinking about their own circumstances. Are there people in my family that I should tell the planner about because they're also dependent or may become dependent? So we're planting these possibilities in the mind of the client so that they feel open to share everyone that's in their family as well. Then we'll talk through what the Jetsons have in place already. So I can say, you can see here, Neil's got this pension fund through his company. He's also got this play account with easy equities. By taking them through what this client has and all the different things that I've taken into account, immediately the client understands, okay, when we get to my picture, I'm also going to share these things. And, oh, I wouldn't have thought to share that I also have an easy equities play account, but now I can see where it fits into the picture and why it's important for me to share that. So immediately you're breaking down that intimidation because you're showing the client what to expect. I'm going to ask about all of these things, but now you can see where it fits in and that's why I'm asking for it. So immediately reduces that and provides clarity for the client. You also want to talk through the challenges that this family has or the gaps. So for example, here I can say, Neil does have life cover in place, but here we can see he didn't have disability in place. So that was something we explored in more detail. We unpacked that to understand, could he fund it from other sources, or would we need to look at potentially putting cover in place should Neil become disabled? So again, the client's feeling calmer. I'm also going to have gaps. I'm also going to have challenges, and that's okay because together we're going to work through it, explore it, and understand what that means for me. And the last thing you want to really emphasize is the process, how. So instead of just saying we addressed that, we can talk through the client exactly the steps of how we did it. Again, providing clarity, showing the client what to expect from the next steps in this process. And one way we could do that is, for example, saying, when I met with the Jetsons, they didn't have a will in place. So the process we went about to put that in place was to first sit down and have a very open conversation around, if something should happen to them, who would be the guardian for their child and look after their mother-in-law? What financial needs would need to be taken care of? So we explored all of these, conversations and to get an understanding, and then we drafted the will and implemented it. It's something we review every 2 to 3 years to make sure it still reflects their wishes. So again, you can see by telling the story and working through it with the client, we're addressing all 4 of those items we mentioned under Petty. We're opening up possibilities, removing intimidation, showing empathy and understanding for people like them. And now by going through that process, they really know, okay, this is the value that this planner adds for people like me. So we've created 8 different sample maps. for Asset Map South African subscribers, one for a young family, a retired client, a business owner, a single parent household. And our planners can use those, tailor them to really suit their target market, but also create as many of these sample maps as they like to better express their value proposition to clients. And we really encourage them to always have these accessible, whether that's a PDF on your desktop or actually print it out and in your briefcase or laptop bag, so that the next time someone asks you, what do you do, instead of telling them about your generic value proposition, you can be really specific about it and say, well, let me show you what I do for people, and take out one of these and talk them through it. It's also a great way of re-engaging existing clients. So it works well for new clients in positioning that process. But a lot of the time, planners will say to me, when I first started, I took on some clients and I built this practice up over the years, but my whole process is different now. And it's hard to go back to my, older clients that I've had for a while and reintroduce a new process. And firstly, I want to really emphasize that clients expect our process to change. Part of our role is to keep enhancing as changes come into play and bring that to our clients. So we should always be open to going back to them and saying, we've brought in something new. We're always trying to add new value for our clients. Let me take you through this. I want to expand on our conversation. It's also a great way of bringing other family members into the conversation. So often we have a client, but perhaps we don't always deal with the spouse. It's a great way of bringing the spouse into the conversation to say, let me tell you a story about this family and what I looked at for them. Okay. So always remember, one of the best ways of opening up new conversations with new or existing clients is through stories. So have your sample maps and use and create those stories for clients. And then moving on to the third trend. So this is increased client engagement. Now, when I say more client engagement, I don't necessarily mean we need to take on a whole lot of new clients to engage with. It could be with existing clients. The key here is we need to engage more with clients. And if we have a look at a recent Kitsis blog, he said the difference between, so some research that he did, the difference between the top 25% of financial planners and the bottom 25% of financial planners, what separates them is 1 extra hour of client engagement a day. And what that ended up in is a 64% increase in the amount of clients that they looked after and an 80% increase in the pay that they took home. Just 1 hour of extra client engagement. Now, I'm sure you may be asking, okay, that's great, but where do I find this extra hour? I'm engaging with clients all day. And that is where fintech comes into play. So I think fintech in the last few years has been very focused on analysis, cash flow, reporting, compliance, workflows, more back office efficiency. The trend we're seeing now is that fintech needs to shift into empowering the client engagement, making it easier to engage with clients, simpler to engage with clients, so that we have the ability to engage more. And not only engage more, but have meaningful engagements every time we engage with clients. And this slide is, previously we used to say, planners are face-to-face and they're mostly having face-to-face meetings. And we know that COVID has sort of expedited this remote meeting engagement. But I think the key here is that it's not going to end up being some planners are face-to-face planners and some are remote planners. Or for this client, I only meet with them face-to-face, and this client, I only meet with them remotely. It's going to be more of a fluid hybrid, where we're going to engage with clients sometimes face-to-face, sometimes telephonically, sometimes remotely, sometimes using a screen. So whatever your client engagement process is and the technology that enables it, it has to be able to easily transition between these different mediums. It can't just aid remote meetings. It needs to be as powerful in face-to-face client engagement as well. So to summarize, those are the 3 trends that we're seeing. Simplifying advice that clients can open up and be engaged, and you can do it, be very specific about the value that we're adding, make it very relatable to clients. And the third one is the ability to engage more with existing or new clients, but the key is to engage more. And if I can summarize that in one sentence, the next step is a value proposition that's relatable for clients like me, and an engagement experience that not only increases productivity, but also deepens the client-advisor relationship. So it can't be one or the other. It has to do both. We need to increase productivity, but at the same time, it needs to be meaningful client engagements. And I've just included, 2 recent quotes here from some of the AssetMap financial planners showing how their experience with AssetMap is doing, meeting that goal. So you can see the comment from Penny saying, they can create plans in 1/4 of the time that they used to by using AssetMap. So they're talking to this ability to do more and be, engage more with clients because the productivity is focused on the client engagement. And then the comment from Alfred said, it is deepening his client engagements because their clients arrive with their A3 printed AssetMap with notes all over it, because there's something about seeing it all on one page that just makes clients want to draw on that page, engage with it, add things, look at the gaps, and ask questions. So to show that AssetMap is meeting, those 2 goals. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. I'm going to hand over to Benny now.
Awesome, Kirsty. Thank you very much. I mean, that is a huge challenge. I mean, what you're posing to us as an industry, I really love it. This thing about, we need to make it more personal for clients. We need to be more specific about our value add, deepen the engagement and do it in a quicker time. I think it's awesome. I think, if we can grab and really get it to grips with that, I think the industry and our practices will be so much stronger. So that's awesome. Thank you very much. Maybe then just to end off quickly, just because if you can go to the next slide that I can actually remember what I wanted to say. Yeah, I mean, so maybe for those of you that haven't seen AssetMap for a while, there's been a lot of changes. I mean, the platform keeps evolving. Kirsty mentioned, 1 or 2 of the awards. I mean, in fact, there's another award that it won. It's now in a like a survey they do once a year in America. It's now the most preferred financial planning tool across financial planners. And what's exciting for me is that took 10 years in the US, but I think it's going to happen a little bit quicker here in South Africa. And I think it talks to, and Kirsty, you wouldn't have seen the comments, but we had people from overseas yesterday, and we had people from overseas today as well joining the discussion. And it just shows you how quickly ideas are now spreading. Yeah, so that's awesome. So lots of exciting things that AssetMap have been up to. Yeah, and maybe just a quick point about the future. It keeps on evolving. One of the really exciting things that they're launching this year still is a sort of tentative first step with artificial intelligence, bringing that into the planning process and how that supports the financial planner. So like we're super excited about that. Yeah, and you can just see where it's going. It's the speed with which these things are changing will just keep on increasing. All right, so I just end off by thanking everybody. I really appreciate your time. Enjoy BRAAI Day tomorrow. That's that's a like a special, I think, event in South Africa. So please, I hope you can enjoy the time with your family. And then we're going to end off by just playing a little video clip. Just think about it from a client's perspective, how we can position, the value that we added. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, Benny.
Making good financial decisions requires an understanding of our current condition, all the financial holdings we've acquired over the years, and progress relative to our goals. The challenge is that most of our financial holdings don't get the attention they need because we simply don't have time and expertise to optimize them, let alone question their place in our life. Most of us need a little help getting it all together. The truth is that other people in our household are often dependent on us and our decisions, and we just can't afford to be wrong in this department. Sometimes we could use a little help. So what if we could start by organizing all our financial decisions into one simple, rich visual, an asset map? What might we notice that's missing or out of place? Who might we collaborate with to help make better decisions? What ideas might we implement to get into a better situation? With new visual clarity, we might just make more informed decisions that serve everyone in our household. If a picture is worth 1,000 words, then an asset map is worth, well, a lot more. Take some time to start your discovery and facilitate a more meaningful financial conversation.